Hello everyone, welcome to my channel all about biology. This is Jyoti Verma and today we will discuss about the gymnosperms. But before discussing about the gymnosperms, firstly we will discuss about the syllabus. So this is syllabus basically of the Lucknow University BSc Botany Semester 2 Paper 3, which is diversity of pteridophytes, gymnosperms and elementary paleobotany. So as I have done a poll and you have selected the option gymnosperms, so firstly we will take up the gymnosperms in this video. So this syllabus is quite different in the semester system as well as in the yearly systems, and those students who belong to different universities and those who have different topics regarding the gymnosperms in their syllabus, so they can also mention the topic in their comment section so that I can make video on that topic also. But basically the syllabus that I will follow in my videos will be of Lucknow University, and this syllabus is basically the semester system syllabus of Botany Paper 3 Semester 2. So the first two units of this case are generally from the pteridophytes. Next to the units 3 and 4, basically they are from the gymnosperm. So we will take up the unit 3 and the unit 4 first in our video. So in this video I will take up the general characteristics of the gymnosperms. Later on in our next videos we will talk about the affinities, the classification, economic importance, cycles, Pinus, ephedra, and we will take up the elementary paleobotany section also in our videos. So firstly, that the topic that I will take up is the general characteristics of the gymnosperms. So let's start the general characteristics of gymnosperms. Firstly, you need to know where the gymnosperms lie in the classification, or what is the basic reason of putting them in that classification. So the classification of plant kingdom, the oldest classification that I am talking about, is that the plant kingdom was divided into two different groups, the cryptogams and the phanerogams or spermatophyta. So the cryptogams were flowerless and seedless plants, those plants which don't bear any flower or any seed. In that case, the reproduction takes place by means of spores. So the cryptogams were basically divided into Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. Thallophyta are the most simplest and primitive form of the plants, in which the plant body is undifferentiated mass of cells called as the thallus, as the examples are algae, fungi, bacteria, lichen, etc. So in the case of cryptogams, we have flowerless and seedless plants, which are the most simplest types of plants, divided into Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. The Thallophyta is the most simplest and primitive forms of plant, which consist of a thallus-like plant body. Example is algae, fungi, bacteria and lichen. The second category is the Bryophyta. So Bryophyta are advanced than the Thallophyta. In the Bryophyta, as we have discussed in our previous video about the Bryophyta, that Bryophyta may be thalloid as well as leafy forms are also available. Bryophytes are also called as the amphibians of the plant world because they require water for their fertilization, as well as they are present on the terrestrial areas with little moist conditions. And the third category of the cryptogams is the Pteridophyta, in which we have a well differentiated plant body and they have a vascular system. That's why they are called as the vascular cryptogams. So in this way, the cryptogams were divided into Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. However, the phanerogams or spermatophyta are the plants that bear flowers and seeds. So what are they? They are basically the plants that bear flower and seeds, and these are the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. So gymnosperms basically come under the spermatophyta or phanerogams. Gymnosperms are naked seeded plants. The seeds are not covered in this case. They have a very simple flower, which is seen basically in the higher forms like in ephedra, but basically at the primitive form, at the primitive level of the gymnosperms, we will have the microsporophyll and the megasporophylls. And the second category of the spermatophyta and phanerogams is the angiosperms, in which the ovules are enclosed in the ovary wall. So they are basically having a well developed flower, and they can be divided into monocots and dicots. So why I am discussing this classification is that basically, first of all, it is the most oldest form of classification. Lots of classification have been given after that classification, which are more modern and more acceptable, but that is the basic concept on which the gymnosperms have given category under the spermatophyta. So we are talking about the gymnosperms, characteristics of gymnosperms, and the first characteristic is that the gymnosperms are the group of plants that come under the category of spermatophyta, that bear flowers and seeds, but seeds are naked, they are not covered. And flower in this category are very basic, not a typical flower can be seen in this case. Only a basic structure of flower is available, like the in this case we have microsporophylls and the megasporophylls. Let's come to the first point of the general characteristics. First of all, I want to told you that in examinations, when you are asked about general characteristics of the gymnosperms, then you have to mention the points in a sequential manner. You don't have to mention points whatever come in your mind, which point comes in your mind, you put that point first. No, you have to put all the points in a sequential manner. That is, first of all, you have to mention about the external characteristics, later on you have to mention about the anatomy, then about the reproduction. So all the characteristics led to a particular sequence in your answer, and that's why students will not get good marks, because they don't put characteristics in a proper sequence. So I will tell you how to put it in a proper sequence and how to fetch good marks about this topic regarding the general characteristics of the gymnosperms. So the first point is the gymnosperms basically come under the division spermatophyta, as we have discussed earlier why they have been placed in spermatophyta. Okay, so the word spermatophyta basically means sperma, seed, and phyton means plant. So these are basically the seed bearing plants. Those plants that bear seeds are called as the spermatophyta. And as the gymnosperm bear seeds, so they have been kept in spermatophyta. So the word gymnosperm, gymnos means naked and sperma means seed. So the gymnosperms basically have a naked ovule which is born on the surface of the megasporophyll. So in this case, ovules are there, but they are not covered or they are not protected. So that's why the concept of gymnosperm is there, that gymnosperms are naked seeded plants in which the ovules are not covered with a covering. They are born on the surface of megasporophyll. So next point is that the gymnosperms are the primitive spermatophyte. They have naked ovules born unprotected on the surface of megasporophyll. So in this case, the ovary is absent. Thus gymnosperms are called as the phanerogams without ovary. Phanerogams because they have been kept in phanerogams and spermatophyta. So gymnosperms are naked seeded plants in which ovules are born on the megasporophyll, but the ovules are not covered by the ovary. So ovary is absent in the case of gymnosperms. That's why they are called as the phanerogams without ovary. Next point is the origin of the gymnosperms. So the gymnosperms basically originated in the Paleozoic era, roughly about 375 million years ago. The gymnosperms were mostly dominant in the Jurassic and Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era. So this point is also very important because it is asked in very short answer type questions, that in which era the gymnosperms were mostly dominant. So in the Jurassic and Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era, gymnosperms were mostly dominant in that period. Next is the some important points that are very important from your examination point of view, is that they ask about the tallest gymnosperms and the smallest gymnosperms in the case of very short answer type questions. So the tallest gymnosperm is the Sequoia sempervirens, which is also called as the Californian redwood. It is about 112 meter tall and 15 meter in width. It is a huge tree. Next is the smallest gymnosperms. The smallest gymnosperm is Zamia pygmea. Pygmy means small, and that's why its name is Zamia pygmea. Its leaves are very small, they are about 4 to 5 centimeter long. Next important point is the oldest gymnosperm. The oldest gymnosperm is Sequoia dendron giganteum, which belongs to a member of Cupressaceae. Next characteristic feature is most of the gymnosperms are evergreen trees or shrubs with xerophytic adaptations. So this is the most important feature, that the gymnosperms are basically found in the xeric habitats where water is present in less amount. So they showed xerophytic adaptation also in their anatomy. Next point is the plant body is sporophytic and differentiated into root, stem and leaves. So in the case of gymnosperm, the main plant body is sporophytic, and the stem is basically erect, but it can be branched or unbranched also in different cases. It can be branched in the case of conifers like pinus. So when we are having a branched gymnosperm, like if you see pinus is branched and it has both long shoots and the dwarf shoots. The dwarf shoots basically bear the reproductive structures, the micro and the megasporophylls. So in the case of unbranched stem, the unbranched stem is columnar and thick stem, that is basically in the case of cycas. So in the case of gymnosperm, you can see two different types of stems. One can be a branched one, which you can see in the case of pinus, and the other one is the unbranched one, which you can see in the case of cycas. So both stems are different. So sometimes stem is tuberous in the case of Zamia. Presence of leaf scar on the stem is the characteristic feature of gymnosperms. So basically on the stem you will be able to see a structure which is called as the leaf scar. So that is the characteristic feature of the gymnosperm. Next point is about the roots. The roots in the case of gymnosperm is basically the tap root system, which are later replaced by the adventitious roots. So we will have roots are also two types in this case. Roots show symbiotic relationships. So in this case we will have colloid root of cycas, that is a relationship of cycas with the algae, and mycorrhizal root of pinus, that is with fungi. the roots basically show dimorphy, that is, they basically show two different types of morphology. We can have normal roots that are positively geotropic. Positively geotropic means moving towards the gravity, so they are basically moving downwards. However, the colloid roots or the mycorrhizal roots in this case are negatively geotrophic. That is the main difference between the normal roots and the colloid roots, that the colloid roots are negatively geotropic, that is, they move away from the gravity. Next characteristic feature is the leaves. So leaves are also dimorphic in the case of gymnosperms. They have foliage leaves which are green, simple, needle shaped, and scaly leaves which are minute and deciduous. So there is an exceptional case. So in ephedra only scaly leaves are present. So as you can see the characteristics of the gymnosperm, you have noted one important feature. There is dimorphy in the different parts, like in the roots you can have two different types of roots, like the normal roots and the colloid roots. In the leaves you can also have two different types of leaves, foliage leaves and the scaly leaves. Stem is also branched as well as the unbranched. So that are basic external features of the gymnosperms that separate them from each other also. Next we will come to the anatomy in the case of gymnosperms. As we have discussed about the external appearance of the gymnosperms, now we are coming to the anatomy, that is the internal structures within the gymnosperms. So firstly we will take up the internal structure of root. So root root hairs and vessels are absent in the case of gymnosperms. Okay, and the vascular bundles are exarch and open. Exarch means the protoxylem towards the periphery is the exarch condition, and open means when cambium is present between the xylem and phloem, so that condition is called as the open type vascular bundle. They can undergo secondary growth. So basically the root of gymnosperm is characteristics. It has no root hairs, vessels are also absent, and the vascular bundles are in the form of exarch and open type. That is, the protoxylem is towards the periphery and the cambium is present between the xylem and the phloem. The root of the gymnosperm also shows secondary growth. Next is the stem. The stele is the eustele in this case. So the ring of vascular bundles around the pith. Eustele means ring of vascular bundles around the central pith. So the stele is eustele. Vascular bundles are conjoint, collateral, indark and open. So conjoint means xylem and phloem occur on the same radius. If you see the diagram, then in the case of stem, transverse section of the stem, they have a conjoint vascular bundles in which the xylem and phloem basically lie on the same radius. The collateral vascular bundles are basically the xylem towards the inner side and the phloem towards the outer side. Indark means protoxylem is towards the center and open means cambium is present. So all these things you can see in a single TS, a single transverse section of the stem. So you can able to see a ring of vascular bundles in the stem, in which xylem and phloem occur on the same radius. Xylem is towards the inner side and phloem is towards the outer side. In dark condition, the protoxylem is basically towards the center, and open means the cambium is present between the xylem and phloem. So secondary growth is also present in the case of stem, and growth rings, distinct growth rings can be seen on the stem. That can be characteristic feature of the gymnosperms. Now we are talking about the two different types of wood. Because the stem is slightly different, so we can have two different types of wood in this case, that is the monoxylic wood and the pycnoxylic wood. The monoxylic wood is seen in the case of cycads, in which you can see a relationship of monoxylic wood is there, the leaves are basically megaphylous, that is the large leaves, and seeds is radially symmetrical. Radially symmetrical means you can cut it from either of the axes and it will divide equally into parts. And the pycnoxylic wood, which is basically seen in the conifers, have microphylous leaves and bilaterally symmetrical seeds. The seeds will divide laterally into two parts. So that is basically the two different types of wood, monoxylic and the pycnoxylic wood. In the case of xylem, we will have the primary xylem. The primary xylem consists of protoxylem and the metaxylem with annular, spiral or scalariform thickening in their tracheids. The tracheids in the case of xylem possess characteristic thickenings that can be seen within the internal structures, that is the annular, spiral and scalariform thickening. However, the secondary xylem, which is formed after the secondary growth, shows bordered pits with scalariform thickening. Bordered pits are specific structures which can be seen on the tracheids within the microscope. When you cut a section of the wood, so bordered pits are very important for the classification of the gymnosperms. So in MSc you have your practicals of gymnosperms in which you have to see the bordered pits, and each pit has a specific structure on the basis of which each gymnosperm is classified. So that is very important from practical point of view. Next point is xylem is composed of only tracheids and parenchyma fibers, which are rare. Vessels are totally absent in the case of gymnosperms. That is very important point. However, in order tails of the gymnosperm, vessels can be seen. So in gymnosperms, the vessels are absent, xylem vessels are absent. However, in the case of knee tails, vessels can be seen. Same is in the case of phloem. The phloem consists of sieve cells, not the sieve tubes. Sieve cells are present and phloem parenchyma is present. Companion cells are totally absent in the case of gymnosperm. So these are the important points that I have highlighted for you, that in the case of xylem the vessels are absent except in knee tails, and in the case of phloem the sieve cells are present and companion cells are totally absent in the gymnosperms. Stem may show accessory structures like the mucilage cavities can be seen in the section, or the raisin canal can also be seen in the section. Next point is leaves. The leaves show dimorphy, that is they have basically two different types of morphology. They can be foliage leaves or they can be scaly leaves. So foliage leaves are basically green, simple, needle like, because they are present in xeric habitats. They require less amount of water, so leaves are needle like in order to reduce transpiration. So needle shaped pinnate compound leaves can also be seen in some plants. So they basically perform photosynthesis because they are green in color and they contain chlorophyll. The second category of leaf is the scaly leaves. The scaly leaves are minute and deciduous. Its leaves fall after a period of time. Deciduous means its leaf fall. These are generally involved in protection. Okay, so in some taxa like ephedra, only scaly leaves are present. The ephedra don't have any kind of foliage leaf, only scaly leaves can be seen in the case of ephedra. So scaly leaves are present on long and the dwarf shoots both. Next we will discuss about the anatomy in the case of leaves, that is the thick cuticle and the sunken stomata is present in the case of leaf. So if you cut a transverse section of the leaf of gymnosperms, then the mesophyll can be differentiated or can be undifferentiated. So the mesophyll is undifferentiated in the case of Pinus and Cedrus. And the mesophyll is differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma in the case of cycas and netum. So in the case of gymnosperms, the mesophyll can be differentiated in the case of cycas or netum, or it can be undifferentiated in the case of pinus and citrus. This can only be seen by cutting the transverse section of the leaf. Most of the gymnosperms do not have lateral veins, and the lateral translocation of nutrients takes place by means of transfusion tissue. So in the case of gymnosperms, we don't have lateral veins as in the case of angiosperms. So in this case, we have a special tissue for translocation of nutrients and water, that is the transfusion tissue. Leaves can be simple in the case of conifers and compound in the case of cycadales. Reproduction is basically they are heterosporous, that is the mega and the microsporangia basically occur on the microsporophylls and the megasporophylls, which usually aggregate to form compact cone or strobilus. So in the case of gymnosperms, there are microsporophylls and megasporophylls. The microsporophylls, the sporophylls basically arranged in such a manner that they form a compact cone or strobilus like structure, and within the sporophylls there is sporangia. So they show heterosporous condition in which the both megasporophylls and the microsporophylls can also be present within the same plant or within the same branch also, and they will form a compact cone or strobilus like structure. Next characteristic is vegetative reproduction is totally absent in the case of gymnosperms except in cycads where bulbils have been reported. So in the case of cycads, we have vegetative reproduction by means of bulbils. However, in rest of the gymnosperms, the vegetative reproduction is absent. Next characteristic is the cones are mostly unisexual, but in some rare cases bisexual cones are also present. For example, Ephedra foliata and Ephedra intermedia. So in the case of Ephedra foliata and Ephedra intermedia, bisexual cones are present. Then plants can be monoecious, that is they have both micro and the megasporophyll on the same plant, or they can be dioecious, that is they can have both of them on the different plants. Male cones are usually short-lived. The development of the microsporangium is eusporangiate type. This eusporangiate type of development we have discussed in the video of general characteristics of the pteridophytes. So you can see it from that video also. However, I can give you a small summary of the eusporangiate type of development, in which the sporangium basically develops from a group of superficial cells. So basically there are some group of cells from which the sporangium will develop. So the group of cells will divide into primary wall cell and primary sporogenous cell. The primary wall cell will give rise to a sporangial wall. However, the primary sporogenous cell will give rise to sporogenous tissue from which later spores are developed. So this is basically the eusporangiate type of development in the case of gymnosperms. Next we will talk about the female cones. So the female cones basically are formed by the aggregation of the megasporophyll. They are persistent for several years. The megasporophyll may be similar to the normal foliage leaves as in the case of cycas. The megasporangium, which is the ovule, is naked, that is there is no ovary, and this is present on the megasporophyll. So the megasporangium is present on the megasporophyll. The ovules is basically orthotropous in this case, and they can be unitegmic, that is having only a one integument, or is bitegmic, that is having two integuments which is present in knee tails. The ovule integument basically consists of three layers. It has an outer fleshy layer, middle stony layer, and an inner fleshy layer. So the integument basically consists of these three layers. Next characteristic feature is that the microspores are liberated at various stages during the development of male gametophyte. So this is very different in different types of gymnosperms. Like in Cycas, the microspores are liberated at the 3-celled stage. In the case of Pinus, the microspores are liberated at the 4-celled stage. In Ephedra, the microspores are liberated at the 5-celled stage. Next characteristic is that the male gametes are non-motile, with an exception because the motile gametes are present in Cycas and Ginkgo. The Archegonia has a single egg and a venter canal cell. The neck canal cells are however absent. So the basically Archegonia in this case has a single egg and a venter canal cell. Neck canal cells are absent. Pollination is anemophilous by wind or by insects in the case of gymnosperms. Next characteristic feature is that fertilization is siphonogamic. In some cases, the pollen tube may function as a hostoria because it absorbs nutrition in the case of Cycas, or it can act as a sperm carrier in the case of Pinus. Next characteristic feature is that after the fusion of sperm and the egg, a zygote is formed, and the development of embryo is meroblastic. That is, the embryo develops basically from the lower part of the zygote. So that is another important characteristic feature, that the embryo in the case of gymnosperm develop from the lower part of the zygote. So that is meroblastic development. Development of the endosperm takes place before fertilization. That's why it is haploid in nature, and double fertilization is present in the case of Ephedra. Next is the development of embryo is endoscopic. The shoot apex is basically directed opposite to the micropyle. So when the shoot apex is present opposite to the micropyle, then in this case the development of embryo is called as the endoscopic development. Another important characteristic of the gymnosperm is the polyembryony. So in the case of polyembryony, several embryos develop from each ovule. We can see cleavage polyembryony in the case of conifers. However, only one embryo matures at the end. And the last characteristic is that the distinct alternation of generation is present within the gymnosperms. So these are basically the important points or the important characteristics of the gymnosperms that are very important from examination point of view, and all the topics, all the important points regarding its characteristics has been covered in this video. So thank you so much, and if you have any suggestion or any comment, you can mention it in the comment section, and like my channel, subscribe my channel. Thank you.